Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. The channel has now reached over 200 subscribers, so you guys have done it. Thank you so much. Today I'm going to be doing a budget shave, the first in a series of videos where I shave with budget products and budget razors. Now this came about because there was a suggestion, well a few suggestions on what if someone was new to using a safety razor, what products would they be using that are not expensive? And so today is about my first shave about that. I took down an entire beard in my last video using the Feather SS and a closed comb razor. And the Feather SS, the shavette, just absolutely nuked the beard. It was like peeling off the beard. It was terribly satisfying. It was fantastic. And it really highlighted things that I'm going to do in this video and explain more. So, budget shaving. The first thing is the availability of product. So most people have only access to their supermarkets. To order things online is more expensive. Usually there's shipping and handling. So I'm going to be talking first about things that are easily accessible in your environment. So the first thing that I found easily accessible in the supermarket, the safety razor, was the King C Gillette. And it was my very first video on the channel. So this I've seen on special in Coles in Crow's Nest the other day when I was doing my shopping for 21 Australian dollars, which is a little over 15 US dollars. So extremely inexpensive, and it also comes with 5 blades. So this is what I'd recommend a beginner getting. This is a great razor and very good value for the money. Great value for the money. In fact, I think it's one of the best things that I've seen in the supermarket in terms of shaving since forever. So if you're new to shaving, this is a safety razor. This is a 3-piece razor, and it comes with 5 blades. Now, safety razor is a bit more, safety razor shaving is a bit more dangerous. So obviously, you have to take precautions. And one of the precautions that you should immediately take is to go out to the local chemist and buy something called a styptic pen. Now, this is not mentioned a lot by these so-called shaving professionals. You do need a styptic pen, and you don't need an alum block, but a styptic pen for me, recommending a new shaver, is essential. So always have a styptic pen, and what this does is it will seal any cuts that you have or abrasions or weepers on the face immediately. So guys that are long-term wet shavers will know the styptic pen. The idea is not to cut yourself, but cutting yourself in the beginning, learning how to shave, especially if you have any pimples or bumps on your skin, is a virtual inevitability, unfortunately. But we're always striving for a flawless shave without any cuts. So a styptic pen is essential. The next thing that you'll need some type of lubricant. Now, people use all different types of lubrication. I've used bath soaps in my videos. I've used all different types of soaps and creams. Now for this one I'm using the Gillette Pure. The reason why I'm using that is because it was $4 in my supermarket, which is about $3 US. So very inexpensive. So all up, the razor, the blade and the shaving cream is 25 Australian dollars, which is around 20 US dollars, which I think for a beginner is very inexpensive. And if you're going to give a gift and you only have availability of the products in your supermarket, I reckon that's the way to go. I also had this on special. I think this is a post shave balm, which I think is also essential. So this I think was about $4 or $5. It was on sale, like it was a ridiculous sale. I think normally it's about 8 Australian dollars or about 6 US dollars. This contains witch hazel, vitamin E, chamomile and aloe. So this is meant to be soothing, and it's good to put on post shave. So that's essential. So they're the things that I would recommend starting with. Do you need an inexpensive cheap brush? The answer is no. You can use your fingers in the beginning. But for essential products, it's the razor, the safety razor, the razor blades, the shaving cream, and an aftershave balm. So they're the 4 essential items that I think that somebody needs to start shaving. Now, let's get into it. The first thing that we'll do is we'll set up the razor blade in the safety razor. So just unscrew the handle and take out the two parts of the head, because this is a 3-part razor, and pull out a blade. Now the widest part of the razor is where the sharp cutting surface is. That's where the blade is on either side. It's a double-sided safety razor. So you must either pinch the blade from the top or pinch it lengthways. Okay, they're the only two ways that you want to handle a blade. Very, very important. You don't want to cut your fingers, and these are extremely sharp. So you just open a paper, usually has a little bit of wax that seals it. And then you just pull out the blade. And see how I'm pinching it? Perfect. Now we're going to drop that over the pins and the post. So lay that flat in your hand. And then you just place the blade on top until it fits snugged. Then you place the base plate on top, like so, and screw in the handle. And once you've screwed it in, you can hold on to it lengthways like this and just screw the handle in nice and tight, and it will crimp the blade, and the blade will start to bow a bit. Just like that. That's where the blade sits. I'm not going to go into the features or the parts of the razor. We're just going to go in straight into a shave. The next thing that we're going to do is wet the face, and we're going to use hot water for that. And water and hot water is your friend, especially to soften the stubble. And normally you want to put a lot of hot water if you've got really coarse stubble. And I like to rub that in because there's a bit of oils that are on the face. So I normally rub my face, which spreads my natural oils and starts to hydrate the whiskers. Now, whiskers soften with water. They actually expand, hair expands with water in it, and it actually hydrates. And warm water softens a lot quicker and a lot faster. And it will soften your skin too. So what you're going to do then is you apply some of the cream to the tips of your fingers and just start massaging it in. And what you're looking for is you're looking for slick. This is all what a cream or a soap is designed to do, is to provide razor glide and a cushion for the skin. Okay, you're not lifting hairs. Okay, this is rubbish, lifting hair business, because what happens is that safety bar is going to be traveling over the skin, and it's going to push all the hair down, even if you have a beard. So don't think that you're lifting hair by massaging cream or soap into it. And what you want is you want it to start to penetrate into the skin a bit too, so you've got that awesome razor glide and that awesome cushion. Add a little bit of water to it. And we're not looking like Frosty the Snowman, but what we're after is we're after that slickness. Okay? Now if I were to put that into a brush and bowl, we'd obviously start to develop some foam. But for a beginner, that's simply what you can do in the beginning. Okay? If you want to put like heaps on to become like, so you can see what you're doing as you're shaving, that's cool. But for a beginner, I recommend if you have a bit of stubble that you can see where you're cutting a lot better. And so now we have a nice slick cutting surface with plenty of razor glide. We have the blade prepped up in the razor, and now we're going to do our first pass. Now traditionally the cutting angle is said to be 30 degrees, but simply it's wherever it starts to cut. So what we do is we place it at an angle, and you place it against your skin, and you go downwards in a motion. If you do a pure lateral motion, you're literally cutting directly into your skin. It's like using a knife and you're cutting into your skin. So what you want to do is you want to use the knife, which is the blade, and you want to drag it along the surface and allow that cut to be, at that angle where it starts slicing off the stubble. You're not cutting into your skin, you're slicing the stubble, which is really essential when using any type of non-cartridge system. And so then we begin. And you just do, in the beginning, probably shorter strokes is better for the beginner. You can always wet the face a bit more if the lather is dried up a bit, and you just start dragging it down in these strokes to where you begin to remove stubble. And the good way, and you can see the stubble is being removed from my face. And the good thing about doing it this way, where you can visually see what you're doing, is that you know where you've cut. And we'll just do a comparison now between the first pass, which I use multiple short strokes to do that. That's probably the best beginner technique that I can advocate. Especially this is a few days of growth versus the uncut surface where I have stubble. I think this is like 2 or 3 days of growth. I haven't been counting. And so that's the first pass. And a pass is simply taking down the hair. Now, because it's a safety razor, it has double side, simply you can flip the direction of it and just give it a rinse out under water. Now, why Gillette? Because Gillette is probably the most widely available product on the market. The company is pretty sinister multinational company that has a political agenda against men, especially with their toxic masculinity campaign. So if you can afford to buy a non-Gillette good razor, it's probably the way to go. But in terms of availability and in terms of expense, this King C Gillette is probably, the easiest available, best value for money razor in Australia at the moment. Now there are more efficient razors on the market, but with a bit of work, it delivers a very wonderful shave. Now the technique, which I haven't covered, is, generally speaking, this is my first pass with the grain done. Generally speaking, what I tend to do when I shave is I'll shave to my jawline. Okay, everything is down to my jawline. I'll flatten out my mustache area, shave down here, flatten out here, shave to around my chin, which is probably the most challenging part. If you have a big chin like mine that sticks out and that's rounded, and then I'll shave the neck in a separate action. So shaving curvatures around the face, like the jawline or around the chin, are going to be much more challenging because this doesn't flex. It's so you need to learn how to go across different angles. So down the face in this angle, and then the neck is probably this angle, like you're coming down the neck in, and then you'd come around the jawline in a separate movement, just raking over and just keeping that 30-degree angle. So I'll do this in 3 sections: the cheek, the jawline, and then the neck, and the moustache area, and then all around here, which there are a lot of curvatures, and you'll see a lot of facial manipulation. So then the face is wet again, apply a bit more product, and we're going to do a second pass. Now, for a beginner, I recommend doing just with the grain. So just a downward vertical action for your first week or 2. I wouldn't recommend doing a 3-pass shave across the grain or against the grain in the beginning. Just with the grain and 2 passes, and that's all you do for the first 2 weeks until you begin to develop dexterity and an understanding of how this cuts and the angles that it works in, and you develop your technique in how you shave in different sections. So again, coming down, using a light touch to the jawline, and then at the jawline I'm going to do a kind of sweeping action where I'm curving across my face, and then just down the neck. And this is kind of like 3 sections the way I view it. Rinse out the blade, and I shave usually the right side of my face first and then the left side of my face next. Sometimes I shave this part because it's the more challenging area with thicker, coarser stubble, as you've seen in my last when I shaved my last video when I shaved the beard. I'll shave this separately. And so, if you're experienced, and you're teaching someone new how to shave, that's the way I teach them. And always with keeping that motion. Around the nose is a little bit more difficult, so what I'll do is I press this way into my nose, and then I kind of pull and drag down around this area if you have stubble around the nose. And so I'm pushing against my nose, and then I'll drag and then make contact with the skin in a deliberate action. What you don't want to do is you don't want to push the blade into the nose. You'll cut the nose. And that's it. A simple 2-pass shave with the grain to have a, a socially acceptable, close, comfortable shave without cutting yourself. Then pat the skin dry. Usually warm water then cold, but I've been using cold water. The warm water will take out the soap, and then the cold water will close the pores of the skin. Take a little bit of aftershave balm and just rub that on the face. And so for me, this is what I would recommend for a beginner learning how to use a safety razor. So a budget shave, very inexpensive, with commercial quality products. So the Kingsley Gillette would be my #1 go-to in Australian supermarkets. Gillette Pure, which is not out of a can, it's a cream. I recommend creams, and then just a cheap, inexpensive Nivea aftershave balm. And so these would be the go-to for me getting somebody started shaving. And I'd go to the supermarket and buy that styptic pen for them. And if they cut themselves, a dab of water on the styptic pen and place it against the skin, hold it there, rub it in, and then wash it off about 10 seconds later, and the bleeding should be stopped if it's a small abrasion. If it's a larger cut, holding it there for longer will stop it. And that's it. So thank you so much to my 200 subscribers. That's my introduction to budget shaving for the beginner. What I think, as I was asked to do. Yeah, and that's it. Thank you.